Hello and welcome back to Living Our Best Life. My name is Keith, and we recently returned from a couple of cruises. The most recent one on MSC a couple of weeks ago. I was on the MSC Seaside, and then 2 weeks prior to that, we were on the Carnival Paradise. We booked the MSC cruise probably 7 or 8 months ago. We really had no idea what MSC was all about. We just knew that they were an Italian cruise line. And we have seen a lot of videos on YouTube of people saying that they would never cruise MSC again. This was horrible, that was horrible. But we wanted to try it out, number one, because it was really, really cheap. It was a very cheap cruise. It had drinks and Wi-Fi included. So it was a 4-day cruise, but we booked it, and I'm going to tell you today my thoughts and the differences between Carnival and MSC, or mostly just the differences between MSC and other cruise lines. We have taken a bunch of cruises on Carnival and a couple of cruises on Norwegian, and both of those were very similar. But the MSC cruise line has some marked differences between Carnival, Norwegian, and MSC. But I'll start off with embarkation. Embarkation with MSC was an absolute breeze. We only had to park about 5 minutes away on the ground floor of the parking garage. We walked over probably 5 minutes. It took us to get into the terminal, went up the escalator, we got into the terminal, walked right up, got our cruise cards. But then we were told that we had to sit and wait before they would call us onto the ship. And it wasn't anything other than the fact that they had not finished debarkation and people were still on the ship and they couldn't let us on. But that only took about 20 minutes and then we were on the ship. So I would say embarkation with MSC was a breeze. On the Carnival Paradise, however, it was actually a real mess. This was out of Tampa, and we parked over in the parking garage. It was a pretty good walk over to the terminal, and when we got over to the terminal, it was probably everybody that was trying to board the ship was outside. It was about 90 some degrees, and they told us the reason why we had to wait was because apparently the Coast Guard hadn't cleared the ship. So we'll write that off as an anomaly, because our last cruise on Carnival, we were on the Mardi Gras within 10-15 minutes of walking into the terminal. So I don't really give an edge to either one of the cruise lines with this one. I think MSC, their embarkation process felt very familiar and very fast. Now, once on the ships, normally what we do, especially with Carnival, is once we get on the ship, we immediately go find our muster station and get that out of the way. They have a thing with Carnival that you can't use your card to get drinks until you've done your muster. So now we just go straight and do the muster and get that out of the way. So with MSC, the muster is an absolute train wreck. I mean, I don't even know who thought this up, but basically when you get on the ship, they don't even mention muster to you. Apparently I had read or seen on YouTube where you had to watch a safety video in your room first and then punch some kind of code into your phone in your room, and that's kind of how it worked. So when we got to our room, I immediately watched the safety drill on TV, but apparently that didn't count. They waited until 4 o'clock, which was, we had been on the ship since 11:30, but they waited until 4 o'clock and they made an announcement for everybody to go to their rooms and watch this safety video. And then once you watch the safety video, they would put a code on the screen that you would have to call a number. I think it might have been guest services, but you call the number and you put in the code, and that certifies that you watched the safety video. But that wasn't enough. Then they told everybody that they had to go to their muster stations. So we were on deck 10, and our muster station, I want to say, was on 5. And during this time, the elevators were locked. You could not get on an elevator. They clearly said you could not use the elevators for this process. So we had to go down 5 flights of steps to get to our muster station. And then basically when we got to the muster station, all they did was scan our cruise cards and it was over. I just think this process can definitely be altered. I don't understand why we had to go scan our cards if we had watched the video in our room. But anyway, I think the muster process with MSC is absolutely horrific, and I do hope that they figure that out and change it at some point, because number one, nobody wants to wait all day to do their muster, and we literally had to wait almost 5 hours before we could do ours. So that's something they definitely need to fix. I do want to talk about the staff. The staff on the MSC, I just felt were not as friendly as they are on Carnival and Norwegian. We've had some great experiences on both of those ships. As a matter of fact, I've never had a bad experience with Carnival staff. They all are just so friendly, and most of them call you by your name. And that's one big thing that I did notice. When we get on a Carnival cruise, even when we're walking down to our room for the first time, when we're in the hall and walking to the door, our room steward will literally look at us and call us by our first name. And we look at each other like, how did he even know? I mean, it's uncanny how well the people on Carnival are good with names. It happens in the dining room. It happens in the hallways. It's just crazy. But during the MSC cruise, our cabin steward not once ever called me or my wife by our names. Not once. Friendly enough, but that's a missing touch that we're used to. And I just thought it was something worth mentioning, because that's something I think that we enjoy on the Carnival and Norwegian ships. The fact that the people do remember your names and call you by your names. So overall, I do think the staff on Carnival is much friendlier and much more personable. MSC, I think they may be going through some growing pains or maybe some training pains, but they definitely need to train their people to be a little more friendly. I even noticed it at guest services. When you go to guest services, you really want your best people and most friendly people there to handle complaints or issues. And even the girl at guest services was, I would almost say, she was standoffish. And while I'm talking about guest services, let me mention another thing that I found was really different, and I don't understand why they do this. But so my wife and I both have CPAP machines that we take with us, and on every cruise, as you know, there's never any plugs by the beds or where you would place a CPAP. So we always have to ask our room steward for drop cords or extension cords. And it's always no problem. They go get them, bring them back. They help us even hide the cords so we don't trip over them. On MSC, when I went to guest services to ask for a couple of extension cords, she said it's going to be $30 each for the extension cords, which you will get this back when you turn them in at the end of the cruise. But because we need them to sleep with, I couldn't turn them in until the morning of debarkation, which was a huge inconvenience because I had to get up and get the drop cords and take them down to guest services and get them handed in and get my refund for the deposit for the extension cord. So another thing that I don't know why they do it this way, but it's definitely an inconvenience and very noticeable. So let me talk about the ships themselves. We were on the MSC Seaside, and I can tell you that this was maybe the most beautiful ship that we've ever been on. The ship was absolutely gorgeous, a lot of shiny stuff. I know people have mentioned that the MSC has a lot of chrome, a lot of silver in their decor, but I found it to be very, very beautiful. It looked very modern, And I can just say that we absolutely love the Seaside. It was a beautiful ship. Has a couple of really neat little things on there. The Bridge of Sighs, which is a little narrow bridge at the front of, I believe it's deck 16 or 17, where you walk around. It's probably about a 40, 50-foot walk, and you're basically suspended over the ocean. And it's kind of scary, especially if you're afraid of heights like I am. And then they have another one called an Infinity Bridge, which is very similar, and I believe that one is on deck 8 or maybe deck 7, which it's a little bit longer, but it's not as high up. And those are two really unique things on the ship. They also have a pool called the Jungle Pool, which I thought was really unique. It's kind of sits down inside of a deck, I want to say maybe 16, 17. Anyway, it's got a lot of like jungle decor around it, trees and plants, and it also has a retractable roof that if it does rain, they can actually close the roof and you can still enjoy the pool. So I think the ship itself, the atrium, the bars, the theme of the ship was just, to me, was just absolutely gorgeous. And I'll be honest with you, we had been on the Mardi Gras a few months ago, and I think it was a more beautiful ship than the Mardi Gras. So I'm going to give the edge on the ship to MSC for the simple fact that we fell in love with that ship. It was amazing. So once we did get on the ship, they told us that, hey, the buffet's open, go up and have some lunch. And we did, and they have two main buffets. There's one, I want to say, on deck 8 called the Ocean Cay buffet, and then up on deck 16, I believe they have the Biscayne Bay buffet, which is substantially smaller but has most of the same items. Now let me say here that this was definitely the best buffet that we've had on any cruise. The food was absolutely outstanding, great choices. They had hamburgers and hot dogs every day. They had the best, and I mean the best pizza that I've ever had on a cruise ship. I would put this pizza up against most restaurant pizza. It was really, really good. And I had heard that before we went on this cruise, but I can tell you, MSC definitely has some fantastic pizza. But the buffet itself was really, really good. I thought the food actually made sense. A lot of times Carnival's buffets just don't make sense, some of the items that they have on there. MSC's buffet was broken down into, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 different little islands. One was the ethnic stuff. There was the Italian stuff that they had on there. They had all sorts of pastas. Of course, the pizza, hamburgers and hot dogs, and then they had the rotisserie, which had like rotisserie chicken. It had grilled beef. It had all kinds of choices. Now, I will say that the buffet did not vary much from day to day, but it was always good, and we had the certain things that we liked that we got every day. Carnival's buffet, sometimes it's just, I mean, there's things, I can't even find anything to eat on Carnival's buffet. So I will definitely give the nod on the buffet to MSC. Now, alternatively, the main dining room goes the other way. We've always enjoyed Carnival's main dining room, whichever one we go to. The dining rooms usually have all kinds of choices that we can pick from. A lot of times we'll get the steak and but steak is almost always on the menu at some point. But MSC's main dining room, the one we were assigned to, was the Ipanema restaurant. Now again, here's whole nother issue that we had with MSC. I did not see anywhere in the app, and if somebody wants to correct me in the comments, they can, but I saw nowhere in the app where we could book a time and tell them that we're on the way like you can with Carnival. With Carnival, you can say, I'm on the way, and request a table, and most of the time, by the time you get there, it says your table's ready. With MSC, we had 2 choices on dining. We had either early dining or late dining. There was no anytime dining, which we usually do on Carnival. But MSC's early dining, which is what we chose, had two times, 5:30 and 7:45. But we thought, well, if we don't get there at 5:30, we could go at maybe 5:45, 6 o'clock. It does not work that way. If you don't get there at 5:30, you don't get in. They basically close the restaurant and they don't open it back up until 7:30. We found that to be very inconveniencing, and we were disappointed. And we almost went to the buffet because of that. But it was our last night on the cruise, so we decided to wait it out to 7:30 and we would go into the Ipanema restaurant for dinner. Now keep in mind, on the app, I cannot find the menu. I cannot find any information about what the menu is. So we went into this blind. And we had eaten breakfast in that restaurant a couple of days prior, and the breakfast was absolutely fantastic. It was delicious. Everything was great. We didn't eat dinner in there at all until the last night. And so when we got seated, and they actually brought us a paper menu. When we got the menu, if you can imagine my disappointment, the entire menu was Italian food. From the appetizers to the entrees, the only thing that wasn't Italian food was the desserts. And I'll be honest with you, I love spaghetti, and I'll eat an occasional lasagna here and there, but I'm not a huge fan of Italian food. I like pizza, but I don't like, just in general, I would never choose Italian. If you were to say, hey, where we want to go eat at, let's go do Italian, that's never coming from me. So, very disappointed at the menu. Now, my wife loves Italian, so she looked at the menu and thought she could find something that she liked. The appetizers, I wish that we had taken some pictures or some video of the food, but we didn't. I think mainly because we were so disappointed. But the appetizers, I can't even pronounce them, describe them. The appetizer that she had looked like some kind of giant egg that had some kind of filling in it. I don't know what it was. Mine, I can't even remember what it was now. It was that forgettable. And then for my main course, I got pasta primavera, I believe is what it was called. It was absolutely horrible. And she got, I can't even remember. But either way, the disappointment in that menu and no alternatives was just, I can't describe it. So I think that, and maybe somebody can correct me, but there was no way for us to know this was going to be our menu, and we could have chosen to go to the buffet instead. So I don't really like the way that MSC handles their dining room, especially the only two options being early or late, and late is 9:30. And I don't know who's eating that late, but I mean, it's okay. But so yeah, I definitely enjoy Carnival's dining rooms much better. When we're on the Carnival cruise, we usually eat in the dining room every night if we're not doing a specialty restaurant or something. So really disappointed in MSC's main dining rooms. And maybe there was other nights where they had different stuff, but that last night, and it just happened to be the one night that we went to the dining room, it was all Italian and none of it was good. So let's talk about the private islands. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way right now. MSC's private island, Ocean Cay Marine Reserve, is absolutely my favorite private island that I have been on. And I have been to Half Moon Cay and I've been to Great Stirrup Cay with Norwegian. And I love Half Moon Cay. It's actually one of my most favorite places to go. But Ocean Cay is just simply amazing. It's such a beautiful place. There's a lighthouse there. They have, I don't know, 3 or 4 different beaches. There's a lagoon, and it's just, and the ship just pulls right up to the dock. There is no tender. You walk right off the ship, right onto the island, and they have little golf cart type shuttles to take you around the island if you don't want to walk. And another cool thing about Ocean Cay is your drink package and all the food on the island all works just like it does on the ship. So They have little food trucks stationed around. There's a main buffet area where they have, just like they do at Half Moon Cay, where you go in at 11:30, 12 o'clock, and they are open for a couple of hours, and you get your lunch there. We chose, actually, because we were on the beach right there at the lighthouse, we just chose to walk up to a food truck and got hamburgers and hot dogs, which were really good. But the really cool thing about Ocean Cay is if you're doing a 4 or 5 day or more cruise, MSC may choose to actually spend the night there or at least stay late. Now, we didn't depart until 11 midnight, but they do have a nightly light show on the lighthouse and a beach party with a bonfire. We basically watched from a distance. We didn't really want to go down and get into the shenanigans on the beach, but it was absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to put up the sunset picture that I took of the lighthouse, because it is by far one of the most favorite pictures that I've ever taken. But the Ocean Cay, their private island, is far and away the most favorite island or private island that I've ever been to of any of the cruise lines. Now, granted, we've never been to Coco Cay, or I forget what Disney's is called, but we've never been to either of those. But of the ones that we've been to, this hands down is the most beautiful place that we've ever been to. Just absolutely stunning, and it's just so convenient to just walk off the ship. Your drinks, your food, everything taken care of. So really, really nice. I definitely give the private island nod to MSC. Another thing worth mentioning about MSC that there's really no comparison to with Carnival is the elevators. The MSC's elevator system is kind of strange. Basically, you walk up and there's a little panel, and when you put your hand over it, it lights up, and basically you push the floor that you want to go to, and there's usually 4 elevators there, and you will be assigned to one of those elevators. It might say elevator B3, and so you look up and B3 is on the way, and the elevator door opens, you get on the elevator, you don't push any buttons, it just takes you to the floor that you chose already, which I think is really cool. There was never a long wait for an elevator, maybe a few times, but for the most part, when you push the button, the elevator showed up usually less than a minute later. You got on it, it took you where you wanted to go. Really cool, innovative feature that I really liked. A lot of people had complained about the elevators, but I thought they worked really well for us. Carnival, Carnival can be a really big pain in the butt trying to get an elevator, especially at busy times. So I definitely like the elevators on MSC. It was a cool thing. Now I want to talk about an interesting policy that MSC has that really is kind of puzzling. MSC has a policy where you can't have a drink anywhere near a pool. I mean, you can't even sit on the edge of the pool with a drink. You can't have a drink anywhere near the pool, period. It's just, if you do, it's like immediately the pool attendant will come and tell you to get the drink away from the pool. I mean, and that's such a contrast to what we're used to, because we've done this with Norwegian as well as Carnival, where the actual staff will come to you while you're in the pool and get your drink order and get your room number and bring you drinks back 5 minutes later. And it's just something that we're so used to, not having to get out of the pool and go sit in our chair to drink a drink. So really thought that was an interesting decision that definitely had an impact on us. I'm not sure why. Somebody said it's because they use glasses instead of plastic, but most of every drink that we got on MSC was in some sort of non-glass cup or whatever. It wasn't. Most of them were maybe in hard plastic, but they were never glass that I felt. But either way, I think it's an inconvenience to have to get out of the pool to go drink a drink. I mean, that's kind of what the cruise life is all about, getting your drink and chilling in the pool and just having a good time. But that's a decision that I hope that one day MSC can change, because it's definitely an inconvenience. So now let's talk about the entertainment. The entertainment on MSC Seaside was definitely lacking. They had a great show on the last night. It was called Star Walker. It's a Michael Jackson show, and it was really good. Some people have said this is the best show that they've seen on any cruise ship. I can't really say that, because it really wasn't someone singing. It was literally a guy who was playing Michael Jackson, and he was lip syncing. But he was really good, and I mean really good. And all the other accompanying people with him were really good, all the dancers, and it was a really, really good show. I'm not going to say it was the best show I've seen. I love the Carnival epic rock shows and the shows where they actually have, 8 or 9 people that actually sing the songs that they're performing. And so I will say that other than that show, we also saw a comedy show that was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. I didn't see a lot of stuff like you see on Carnival ships. Like if you walk around a Carnival ship, you're going to see somebody playing music just about everywhere. Usually right above the atrium bar, you're going to see somebody, and then you walk down and there's a group playing here, a guy playing here. I didn't see that on MSC. They did have somebody, behind the atrium bar. Most of the week it was 2 people playing violins, and it was good. Then another night they had a guy who played a guitar, and he was good, but he didn't sing. He just played the guitar. And that happened at the atrium bar. I think it was called the Seaside Bar, but it was just like with any other atrium, they have a little stage or area above the bar behind it where somebody can perform. That's about the only place throughout the ship that I actually saw any live music being performed. And we really enjoy at night on the Carnival ships grabbing a drink and walking around and finding something to listen to. So I felt like this was definitely different. I could have missed some stuff because maybe we didn't know, where to go to find this music, but I didn't see it. Also, I will give props to MSC for the sports bar. The first night we were there, I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, and so the first night we were there, we went to the sports bar, and I was able to watch the Cowboys game on like a 70-inch, I don't know how big it was, but it was a huge screen. It was a great atmosphere, a lot of people in there cheering. So we enjoyed the sports bar there. So entertainment-wise, I wasn't impressed with Seaside. And again, I could have missed something. We looked at the paper. They gave us a paper every day, like a guide, telling you what was going on around the ship. But I just didn't see a lot of music going on. So another thing that's very similar, the pools. I think the pools are very similar. There's hot tubs and pools. There were a couple of really nice. There was one pool that was actually an adult-only pool. It wasn't like a Serenity thing, but it was an adult-only pool, and it was on deck 16 maybe. But anyway, that pool was really nice. No kids at all, and the pool was never really full. That was one of the things that I can say. The pools, we were able to get in them whenever we wanted to. But the adult-only pool was nice. We went to the jungle pool. And so the pools just kind of felt like they usually feel. Hot tubs. We never even got in a hot tub this time. But so I thought the pools were good. Apparently the ship claims it's got over 30 pools and hot tubs, but maybe most of them are hot tubs because I only saw 3 or 4 pools. But anyway, the pools were very similar to what you're used to. I think they were probably less crowded, and I don't know why. One of the things that I can say is at the guest services desk, they had a sign up all week that said, this ship is at capacity. But I don't believe it. Somebody told me that it was only half capacity. But anyway, we never really saw it get really crowded anywhere. Going back to the entertainment for a minute, one of the things that MSC does that I really do like is the fact that On the day of a show, you can go into the app and actually make reservations for that show. So you open up the app, it tells you what's playing. Like I was able to make reservations for the Star Walker show, which I was told usually sells out. You can't get in it if you don't make a reservation. So that was really cool. I think that's something maybe Carnival could look at so that you don't have to line up outside to get into a comedy show or whatever and then not get in. So I thought that was a kind of a cool touch as well. So just some final thoughts. I know that I brought up quite a few negatives about MSC, and I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where people say they'll never go on MSC again. Actually, we want to go on MSC again. We loved the Seaside, we loved Ocean Cay, and we're willing to give it another try, and we will. So I'm not, that's definitely, this did not change any way I feel about the cruise line. I just see that there's definitely huge differences in some of the things that you're used to if you cruise with Carnival or maybe Norwegian or even Royal Caribbean, which we've never been on, but hopefully this year will be the year that we do. But overall, I thought the ship was absolutely gorgeous. There's definitely some differences. I do not like the way that they do their dining room. If you're going to eat in the dining room, I do not like the way they handle that. That kind of definitely inconvenienced us. The thing with the drinks at the pool, I think that it's definitely something that they need to address. Also, their customer service as a whole was just not as good as Carnival. And I know that that matters to a lot of people. It didn't really impede our enjoyment of the cruise, but they definitely could have been friendlier. So maybe if MSC maybe gets a few people from Carnival or they get some of the training guides or something, maybe they can actually improve this. But and another thing that I might add before I finish up is that I did not see, when we got booked this cruise, and I did not see a lot of excursions. Unlike Carnival, when you go into the app and you start looking for excursions, there's an absolute ton of excursions. MSC only had a few excursions at Nassau or Ocean Cay. So I'm not sure, again, if I missed something. I think the website for MSC leaves a little bit to be desired as well. I'm usually able to do anything I can with Carnival, anything I want with Carnival, either on my phone or on my laptop. So I don't know, but I didn't think the website for MSC was very intuitive. As a matter of fact, when I actually did the check-in process, I couldn't even print the documents at first. I was finally able to, but so that's kind of it. I really think that, overall, I think that we will stick with Carnival for the most part. We're going to try to do another MSC, preferably on the Seaside, if we can. I'd like to do maybe a 7-day next time instead of a 4-day, and just to see how it goes. And once we learn the things that we can and can't do, and we probably will enjoy it a lot more. And one more thing, I know I keep saying one more thing. Let me just say that the free Wi-Fi that they gave us was outstanding. No problems whatsoever, never had any connection issues. It worked every time like it's supposed to, unlike Carnival's Wi-Fi where you never really know what you're going to get. So hats off to MSC for the Wi-Fi, and it was free. I know the last cruise that we went on with Carnival on the Paradise 2 weeks prior to that, I want to say the Wi-Fi cost us about $140 for both of us. So again, I appreciate the free Wi-Fi from MSC. And I know right now they are running that promotion. So if you're looking to take an MSC cruise, I do see that they're still offering the promotion for the free drinks and the free Wi-Fi. And that's one of the reasons why we did this cruise, because one, it was cheap. Two, it had the free drinks and Wi-Fi. So definitely look into MSC. I think it's worth you going on your own accord and deciding whether or not you like it. I think overall, to be honest with you, I think we like Norwegian better than either of the other two. We've really enjoyed Norwegian, the 2 cruises that we were on with Norwegian. We've been on about 9 Carnival cruises, but the Norwegian cruises were just really just kind of a cut above. The customer service was fantastic. The food was better. So But I'm not making this about Norwegian. This was basically a comparison between the Carnival Paradise that we were on 2 weeks prior, because we were still fresh from that one when we got on the MSC cruise, and there were definitely differences that we felt like that needed to be talked about. So thank you for watching. I know this is a little long. I normally don't make videos this long. I try to include some video and photos where I could to maybe help you understand what we were seeing while we were there on the MSC cruise. But thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around this long, if you got any comments or questions, go ahead and post them, and we'll be glad to answer them or address them. But MSC, we will sail on it again. It's not a complete wash. There's just some things that are different. So you can make up your mind for yourself. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.